going streaking, stuff like that.
Yes.
Bed Bath & Beyond, no jokes.
Bring your green hat.
Yeah, usually we get some elf out of you by now.
Yeah. Caddyshack, Sean, Cinderella story. Come on.
Sure, 154 yards, the hole.
This is why we tune in.
You got a 9-iron.
Oh, man.
All right, Blue Eyes O'Hara's with us. We've got Peter Schrager and Kyle Brett, both rocking Buccaneers gear this morning. We are excited for the champions, of course, as we hit the lead block.
Lead block.
All right. They're wearing Bucs gear, not Chiefs gear, because it was a rough night Sunday for the Chiefs in Tampa Bay, struggling in every phase of the game. So for the latest from Arrowhead, let's throw it over and welcome in our intrepid reporter, Randy Moss.
Okay, it was almost unfathomable to think that any defense could hold the Chiefs without a touchdown, but Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes gave a lot of credit to the defensive strategy of Todd Bowles for accomplishing just that. Now, Bowles did the same thing the Bills did in the AFC Championship game, but obviously much more effectively, dropping into deep zone coverage to try to take Tyreek Hill out of the game and force Mahomes to use short passes to methodically work his way down the field. That it worked so well in the Super Bowl is something that Mahomes is paying close attention to going into the offseason.
As of today, I'm going to do whatever I can to kind of look at the film and try to find ways to get better. I mean, obviously with our offense and the success that we've had, when teams see that the defensive plan that he had and how well it worked, they're obviously going to try to do the same thing. And so try to find ways to combat that and kind of the evolution of our offense, where we're going to have to do better things and be more efficient. And that really goes with me, and not always looking for the big play, but just finding ways to move the ball down the field.
And just as importantly, and maybe even more importantly, is the fact that Mahomes was running for his life for most of that game, in part due to the makeshift offensive line the Chiefs were forced to start. The good news for Chiefs fans, that offensive line could look a lot different next year with left tackle Eric Fisher and right tackle Mitchell Schwartz back from injury. And don't forget also, starting guard Laurent Duvernay-Tardif opted out at the beginning of the season. Okay?
Yes, and he told Andrea Kramer, of course, that he wants to come back and compete for his spot on the team next year. A brilliant story surrounding Laurent Duvernay-Tardif and his decision to follow his heart and help people during the pandemic. Thank you so much, Randy. The offensive line, Sean, was an issue.
They were offensive.
They were. Oh, dad jokes galore. Did the Buccaneers give the league a Zelda map? Like my brother Kyle would have the Zelda map, and we would end up scotch-taping it together, but he would like outline everything for when he wasn't home at soccer practice and I wanted to play Zelda.
Yeah, it'd be like if you burn this bush, there's a staircase.
Yes, and there's a secret key there, and it all works out. Did this Bucs squad give a blueprint, a map to lead them to how to stop Mahomes and Cup?
You know, last time the Bucs were in the Super Bowl, they absolutely blew out the Raiders, the Bill Callahan Raiders. And the following year, everyone was like, well, the Raiders will be back, and they went 3-13 and never went back to the playoffs for years. And it was like, the Bucs just so destroyed them that Rich Gannon and the whole crew was like, we just can't get back off our feet with what we've got. I don't think that's the same with the Chiefs, because the blueprint involved one of the worst offensive line performances we've ever seen in the NFL in a game, let alone a Super Bowl. I think we all knew it was going to be a problem. I think in the back of my head, I was like, but Mahomes will cure all, and that was foolish. It was. I'll say here 48 hours later after picking the Chiefs in this game that I really should have been taking that more seriously, just how bad their offensive line was.
The Mahomes magic. You believe in it. I did too.
It's hard.
A lot of people do.
It was hard to put my head down to rest on Saturday night and pick against Patrick Mahomes, but the truth of the matter is, that crew on the second column, they weren't ready for the Super Bowl. Not only were these the names, they were playing out of position. Remmers is a right tackle. Wisniewski plays on the left side. Andrew Wiley's a guard playing tackle. Like, the one on the left side got blown up by the 49ers last year, and they were really good. Yeah. Now you take this one, and, you know, the Duvernay-Tardif story, it's like, they really needed him in this game. They didn't need him all season. He said he watched the games up in Montreal with the sound down, and he couldn't watch Patrick get pressured or hit all season. He couldn't stomach watching the games. It was so difficult for him. I could only imagine Big Larry watching the Super Bowl as Mahomes has to do this because the left position at the guard spot is unable to stop Vita Vea or Ndamukong Suh. game was such an anomaly. So, Kay, to answer it in a long-winded way, I don't think it's the blueprint. I don't think the Chiefs' offensive line will be this banged up and this battered and this awful ever again. And I also don't think you're going to get many defensive game plans or many defensive lines as good as what the Buccaneers had. It was the perfect storm. Injuries across the board, no 2 starting tackles, guards out of the game, players out of position, and oh, by the way, maybe the best front 4 in football coming at him every single play. I don't think it's a blueprint, but my gosh, did I underestimate how big of a role that putrid offensive line play would come into play. It's a war of attrition in the NFL, and at the last moment, the final finish line, the Chiefs' offensive line could not stand.
You're not alone, Peter. Don't beat yourself up.
I know.
I do think there's a blueprint, though. I do. I'm not kidding. I think the night before you play the Chiefs, you have to get a huge garbage bag full of money.
Okay.
And you have to find Jeff Gillooly. He's changed his name now, but you got to find him. And you got to buy a steel baton. And then Gillooly's going to go to the Chiefs practice, and he's going to bang their linemen on the knee as they walk to their cars. And they're going to be going, why? And then they're going to be out of the game.
Oh, my God.
And there'll probably be arrests made and everything like that. It's going to be terrible. But you can beat the Chiefs. That is the way to do it. Gillooly, I think his last name is Stone now. I don't want to out him or anything, but I read an article about it. I'm in with you, Peter. Like, it's not the Chiefs line. I think I saw a statistic that Mahomes was pressured 29 times in this game, which is by far a record in the Super Bowl. 29 pressures. And, you know, and Ndamukong Suh had the full run-up hit that he's been waiting his whole life to have. Suh's been waiting for his whole life since he was born to have that hit in the Super Bowl. And then also the blueprint is like have 2 like ludicrously talented linebackers who can run with Kelsey. You have to have White and Levant. You have to. And you have to have Gillooly take out the lineman. And in that case, then if Mahomes still doesn't make magic, you can beat the Chiefs. So there is a blueprint. It's felonious. I don't endorse it, but it does exist.
And we got 2 guys talking about the offensive line, and here's the offensive lineman. Go for it.
Yeah, it was tough to watch. And, you know, it was like watching, you know, a car accident in slow motion. And you know what, to your point, leading up to this, that was going to be the factor. Can you protect your quarterback? And can the Bucs get pressure with their front 4? So, look, it's called a game plan. You know, I don't know why we call it a blueprint. You know, we're not building a house. But the game plan is if you've got a high-powered offense, if you can get that quarterback out of his rhythm, now you've won the game. And Tom Brady, you know, he did a ton of interviews after the game, and he talked about, man, you know what, when you have protection, when you have time, the game is easy, and you're just standing on the pitcher's mound, and you're delivering strikes, you're painting the corners of home plate, and it's easy. When people are diving at your knees and knocking you around, the game is hard. So, look, the Bucs did the same thing to Aaron Rodgers in the NFC Championship game.
Talk about it.
He took out Billy Turner, the left tackle. So this is not just the Chiefs that had to deal with this, but Bakhtiari was out and he got hurt. But I think as players, when they go back and watch this film, we're seeing the pressure right now on Mahomes, and look, the offensive line is taking it on the chin right now, and they're getting all the blame for that big hit right there. I mean, Suh just, you know, I mean, he can't believe that he got that opportunity clean and without penalty. But as they watch the film, here's what they're going to see. They're going to see a quarterback in Patrick Mahomes that was running around, finding a way to get the ball out of his hand and make a play. And there were a lot of drops. And as much as we're going to sit here and talk about the offensive line.
Talk about it, Sean.
Hold up.
Kelsey
right there. The best tight end in the game right now. Yeah.
Tyreek had this.
Add that to another cellmate right there. Tyreek Hill. Boom, that could have been a touchdown right there.
He usually catches that.
I mean,
the
Kelsey slipping right here. This one was a little bit behind him. I mean, that's broken up pass. But there were plays to be made. Demarcus Robinson had a shot in the end zone to make a catch. You know, Darren Williams had the ball, hit him in the face mask. I mean, look, you make that throw. He makes that catch 9 out of 10.
Here's the Williams.
Look at Mahomes.
His face mask.
He's horizontal. I don't know how he gets that ball out. But these drops right here were a factor in the game, too. So I think the Chiefs right now, they're watching this film and they're saying, you know what, man, we blew it. You know, like we were the defending Super Bowl champs, and we looked like the chumps out there dropping the ball.
I can't help but when I watch the game, now removed from it, that they clearly rattled Mahomes. And the defense just deserves all the credit here. They did it to the Saints, they did it to the Washington team, they did it to the Packers, and they did it to Patrick Mahomes and company. The offensive line is one thing, but Reed and Bieniemy didn't, in my opinion, do as good of a job as the other side and adjusting to any of this. Tell me this. I know you can't fully make up for not having a healthy offensive line, and that was the issue here. Aren't there ways that you can help slow down a pass rush? Like, where was the misdirection? Cool plays, bro. 80% of it. 80% of it every week, and Peter Schrager is up there, is what the Chiefs are doing. This, to me, did not look like a Chiefs offense, and there has to be ways, right, to slow down the pass rush, draw attention away.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Well, draws. I mean, you just said draw.
Yeah.
I mean, that's number one. Hey, if we're getting assaulted right now and they're just teeing off on us, all right, we've got to run some screens and draws.
You got to give them different things to look at.
Andy Reid has made a living off of basic screenplays that are an extension of the run.
It is the staple of the Chiefs' offense, so where was that?
They were looking for the home run.
You want a real hot take on a Tuesday morning? And Kyle, I'll tee you up on it.
What?
Because this is going to come across as disingenuous and ridiculous, and how could I even go there? But you said on Sunday morning, if Andy Reid wins the second Super Bowl, you can erase every narrative, and you can
First ballot Hall of Fame, right?
first. If they don't complete that wasp play, in the Super Bowl, down 10 in the fourth quarter on 3rd and 15, if they don't complete that, what is Andy Reid's legacy after all these games? I mean, he got the Super Bowl ring, so we're like, all right, it's done. But what was that Sunday?
Yeah.
And then you're talking about another big game where Andy Reid, it's like, what happens in the big game?
It's also this. We're talking about Brady without Belichick now. All right, so Andy Reid got this incredible gift late in his career that he got Patrick Mahomes, and they made some. And if he never gets Patrick Mahomes, he's still Andy Reid, who can't manage the clock, who never won the big one.
If you don't get the wasp play.
Yeah, well, for sure.
Well, he's sitting next to Mark
last play,
Reed.
they've lost 2 Super Bowls in a row. But they've still destroyed in the regular season. They're still 14-2 this year. But if he does, and he's still doing this thing with Alex Smith or whoever he's doing it with, is Andy Reid all he's cracked up to be, or he just was the coach lucky enough to get Andy Reid, or ready to get Patrick Mahomes?
I mean, this is next level hot. This is
I mean, the timeouts have always been a narrative that surrounded Andy Reid. That was certainly, that showed up in Tampa on Sunday.